guys, Mrs. Noethe here with another drawing tutorial. This time we're looking at some dinosaurs. So make sure you have a pencil, a paper, and an eraser. We are going to start off making a T-Rex. We are making a line that curves up, and then from that line we're going to make a V shape for the mouth. And then we're going to make kind of a curvy diagonal line down below for the chin, and then going up above we're going to make a curving line around for the head. His head, or her head, is going to kind of look like a square if you connected all of the pieces together. So make sure that we have that V shape for that mouth. Then we're going to bring the line down on both sides to create the neck. For the neck, we're going to bring it all the way down and then curve it out for the tail, and you can make the tail as long or as short as you want, creating kind of a V shape triangle, and then connecting it to the legs, curving it up and around. For the toes, we just make the letter V shape or triangle shapes for that as well, and then going up to create the hands and making little triangle points for the hands and making a nice round belly, adding the other arm on the other side, and the foot. Now the foot could be up like it's walking, or you can have it down like the other leg. And then of course, don't forget the eyes. And then we will go into adding kind of the spikes for the back and the detail of circles for the body as well. Now the spikes for the back are basically just zigzag lines going up and down, up and down, up and down, all the way starting at the top of the head going to the tip of the tail. And you can make them big, you can make them small, you can make them rounded instead of pointy if you wanted it as well. So that is an option for you. Now later on I add in an eyebrow and some teeth for my lovely T-Rex as well. So you can add those in now, or you can wait to add them when I did as well. Now we're going to make our nice long neck dinosaur. We're going to start with the eyes, making two ovals, putting a nice space in between them, and then adding in the pupil as well. From the eyes, we are going to make a line, adding in those eyebrows first. We're going to add in a line attached to one of the eyes, making kind of the curve of the mouth, and then adding in those nostrils, and then making a nice long curved line for the neck on both sides. And then we're going to make a curved line for the back, making a nice hump shape. And then going down and back up to create the tail, and making some round shapes, round curves for the tail and the rest of the body. Now we make kind of straight diagonal lines for the feet. Make sure that your dinosaur has 4 if it's standing on all 4s. And then little U shapes for the toenails. And then I went in and added some circles for the scales on the neck and the belly, or I guess the hump, not necessarily the belly. And you could make these squares or triangles. You could change the shape up if you wanted as well. And then we're going to add in the bottom so that it has something to stand on. So a nice little hill to show that it's in the background. It's a little bit smaller than the T-Rex that's in the front to show that perspective. And then I add kind of a foreground line in the front so that our lovely T-Rex has something to stand on as well. And remember, if you get ahead of me, that's fine. If I'm going too fast, you can always pause the video. So as you can see, I have my dinosaurs made, and I wanted to add a little more scenery, so we're going to make a palm tree. So we're going to start out kind of like how we drew our tree in our springtime video, but instead of making kind of curvy lines around it, we are going to add some rounded, curved lines, kind of like an oval, but they have points instead of a curved edge around the piece. And then making a nice long straight line in the middle to get that kind of palm tree feel. So I'm going to add a few leaves, and you can add more leaves. I only have 4 of my palm leaves, but you can always add more if you want. And then I'm going to add in some clouds. And remember, clouds aren't always fluffy, they're kind of wispy, so they have these rounded edges, kind of drawing out, making these interesting shapes that we always see in the sky when we're looking at clouds. And then in the palm tree, I'm adding those lines on the bark of the trunk of the tree to get that palm tree effect. And there you have it. There is our lovely dinosaur drawing. Now, of course, if you want to outline the piece before we begin, you can. You can always fix up your lines, make your lines darker this time since we drew light first and then we went dark. It makes it much easier to erase light, soft lines than it is harsh, pressured lines. This time, for coloring it, instead of using crayons, I'm going to use markers. Now, I have fancy markers, but it's okay if you don't have fancy markers. You can use markers, crayons, colored pencils. You could use all 3. You could use 2 of them. You could only use 1. But this time, I was going to use markers instead. So after I finish up getting all of those lovely lines erased, so it's much easier to color and there aren't any lines being shown, I will begin coloring my piece. I will also be speeding up the video as I color, so then that way it's just me talking about some dinosaur facts that I know, and you get to enjoy coloring with me. Wouldn't that be fun? So as you can see, I added the eyebrow to my T-Rex and my dinosaur teeth as well. He has nice sharp teeth, and those are just V shapes going up and down, zigzag lines up and down, all the way inside his mouth. Alright, you guys, go ahead and grab your markers or your crayons if you want to, or colored pencils or paints. You can use whatever you have at home to color in your lovely dinosaur piece. So, to begin off, I'm going to give you some dinosaur facts. So, dinosaurs walked the earth for over 165 million years. That's a long time. At the end of the Cretaceous period, they became extinct. That was around 65 million years ago. During this time, there was a great deal of volcanic activity and many earthquakes, and so the Earth started to move and shift into what we see it now as today. There's these things called tectonic plates within the Earth, and those begin to shift up or down depending on what is happening with the Earth, and so that's how kind of some of the land kind of parted from each other and shifted and moved around to how we get what it is today. Many people believe that dinosaurs became extinct because an asteroid hit the Earth, changing the climate dramatically. It is believed that dinosaurs couldn't adapt to these changes. The word dinosaur means terrifying lizard. This name was invented by Sir Richard Owen in 1842. So they didn't have a word for dinosaurs until 1842. That's a long time to not know what these things were if people way back then started digging up some of these bones. Dinosaurs are classified as reptiles. They're divided into 2 groups based on the structure of the hip. One group has lizard-like hips, and the other group has bird-like hips. As you probably note, some dinosaurs looked an awful lot like really big birds. Most paleontologists, scientists that study dinosaurs, believe that birds are the only surviving dinosaurs. So dinosaurs aren't really extinct because their descendants are still living today. So anytime you see a bird, it's probably a dinosaur evolved. It just kind of got smaller. It is also said that some sharks have lived as long as there had been dinosaurs. So there could be some sharks that are just as old as dinosaurs. How crazy is that? There's also crocodiles that have evolved and other animals that have evolved from the dinosaur period. The biggest dinosaurs were over 100 feet long and 50 feet tall. The sauropod was the largest dinosaur. The smallest dinosaurs were the size of a chicken and were called Mosasaurus, or mouse lizard. Did you guys know that when I was your age, I wanted to be a paleontologist? I wanted to dig up dinosaur bones and discover new dinosaurs and name dinosaurs after me. I was all about dinosaurs when I was younger. I kind of changed my mind when I wanted to do what is called Egyptology, and that is the study of ancient Egypt. So I wanted to become kind of another scientist that looked at ancient times and dig up all sorts of old bones and pieces of art and architecture. But then as I got older, I had this weird idea that if I became like a scientist, there wouldn't be anything left for me to discover because everyone would have found everything by the time I got old enough. But turns out that's not true. There were quite a few things still being found today that we are learning and exploring about how life was way back when. So as you can see, I colored my dinosaurs in a very different way. I colored my long-necked dinosaur purple and green, which kind of remind me of the dinosaur Barney. Have you guys ever watched Barney? I did all the time when I was younger. But I seemed to have colored my lovely T-Rex sharp-tooth dinosaur in a pink and yellow. I wanted to kind of contrast how the purple and green dinosaur were, and you know, you can color the dinosaur however you want. If you want to make it more realistic, then go for it. Use grays and browns. Maybe kind of base it off a bird that you see outside if you really want to. Or you can make it as colorful as you want. You can make a rainbow dinosaur, you can make a black and white dinosaur, you can make a sun dinosaur, a moon dinosaur. You can make it however you want. This is your piece. I'm just helping you draw out your dinosaur. And so I'm adding in my greens and my browns for my tree. I add my blue to my sky. And we're finishing up nicely. Remember, you can always use an extra piece of paper if you are worried about getting some marker, crayon, or colored pencil on the hard surface that you are working on. That way it's much easier to clean up in the end. And the last little thing that I had to finish doing was the blue of the sky. But of course you can always change the sky colors. You can make it a sunset, you can make it a night sky if you wanted to. It's really up to you. My last little facts about dinosaurs. Some dinosaurs were carnivores, meat eaters, and some were herbivores, plant eaters. Some walked on 2 legs while others walked on all 4 legs. Some had horns and spikes, others had thick bumpy skin, and some even had feathers. The color of all dinosaurs is unknown because no one was alive at that time in history. There are currently over 330 described dinosaur species, and this number is still growing. So, if you want to become a paleontologist or an Egyptologist or some kind of scientist, there's always something new to explore and learn all the time in the science field. So do whatever you are interested in, what makes you happy, that you find your passion. As you notice, I kind of skipped some of my pieces. My recording device ran out of memory, so we missed some of me coloring, but that's fine. It's just me coloring in blue, so that's totally fine. You didn't really need to see me color in all of this blue so nicely. Remember to always take your time when we're coloring, and we're not scribbling on our page. We're staying inside the lines as we color our pieces, so they look nice and crisp and clean and ready to post on the refrigerator, the wall, the door, the window, wherever you want to post your piece so people can see how amazing your artwork is. And of course, we want to make sure that we clean up our space, put our crayons, markers, colored pencils away, put our pencils and erasers away, and then we can go ahead and show off our work just like this. I hope you had a wonderful time with this piece and learned some new interesting facts about dinosaurs. I hope to see your amazing drawings either in the comments on Facebook, or you can email them to me. That would be awesome if you could do that, but make sure you have your parents' permission. See you guys later. Bye!